All right, thank you, Trevor. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Smattering of applause. We are Moira and Jesse Laplante of J. Laplante Photo. We are wedding photographers based out of Colorado, and we are in our 13th season shooting weddings. And just to get us started a little, thanks, I got some fruit. Cheers in the back. Just to help you guys get to know us a little bit, fun fact, we actually met at a bar our senior year of college on spring break in the Bahamas. So it was an all-inclusive resort, and he offered to buy me a drink, and I thought that was pretty clever. So
that's not what happened.
Ask him later what happened.
It's a different story.
Different story. Okay, but we're here to talk about weddings, and when we photograph weddings, we really love to do epic locations.
That makes sense.
We also love to do star photography, Milky Way. And we love to throw things into the air and backlight them. And we do all of these photos with MagMod, which is by far the best photo assistant we have. The entire system is fast, it's easy, and it's effective. But today, we're actually here to talk about reception lighting.
I feel like an auctioneer with this thing. Is that too close? 500. Can you get 550, 600, 650? Okay, so when we light receptions, 90% of the time, the way that we do it is with just one light on a stick. And the reason we shoot with just one light is there's three reasons. One, simplicity. It helps us focus on the moments and on being present and not worrying about extraneous bells and whistles if we don't have to. So unless we absolutely have to add more lights, we don't, right? Number two, precision. When you stick light, you can pinpoint your light exactly where you want it, right? And keep it from hitting what you don't want it to hit, which is equally as important. And number three, tenebrism. Bonus points for anybody that can tell me what this means aside from Maura. Anyone? So tenebrism is a painting term coined by the Italian painter Caravaggio, who essentially just refers to subjects that are dramatically illuminated by a beam of light coming in from out of frame against a much darker background. And this is kind of the style we try to emulate when lighting wedding receptions. Okay, and stick lighting allows us to do this due to the inverse square law, which I'm not nearly intelligent enough to stand here and recite before you today, or I might be able to do it for you later. But practically speaking, what it means for us as photographers is that the closer the light source is to your subject, the more rapidly it falls off after hitting the subject, okay? Which means you can light your subjects and your backgrounds independently of one another. So you can retain these nice black backgrounds like Caravaggio, or retain uplighting so that your flash isn't coming from across the room and hitting your subject and then continuing on to the background. Okay? So, one light on a stick with a revolving door of MagMods. Most typically we have three on there at once. One, the grid, which helps narrow the source of light and keep it from spilling onto areas we don't want it to hit.
Oh, can't do that.
Two,
I'm getting...
We good?
I keep doing this.
They work, ladies and gentlemen. Number two, the sphere, which smooths the edges of light, so there's a more gradual transition from light to dark at the edges. And number three, CTO. We use half cuts. They come in quarter, half, and full cuts. We typically use the half cuts. And essentially what this allows us to do is two things. We dial the white balance way down to the blue end of the spectrum in camera, down to like 3,000 Kelvin. And it helps us match the incandescent ambient light and accentuate the cooler tones in the ambient light, like uplighting, or if there's a blue hour out in the background through the windows, that kind of thing. So we're going to dive into some examples here. Before we do, I'm going to show you my clip art skills. I'm going to be referencing the clock face metaphor throughout this. So just to be clear about that, the photographer is standing at 6 o'clock. The subject, my little break dancer, is standing in the middle of the clock face. And we're almost always lighting from either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, which is a 90-degree angle to the subject. Right? So the reason for this is that we want the light as off-axis with the camera as humanly possible at any given point in time. Because the closer the light source is to the camera, the flatter it's going to look, right? The further you move it away from the camera around the clock face, the more drama you're going to get and transition from light to dark throughout the frame and across your subjects. So this couple first dance being lit from 3 o'clock over here. This is our couple dancing together. Moira standing over here with the stick, with the grid to narrow, the sphere to smooth, and the CTO to shift and match that ambient color balance. This one you can really see the CTO gel go into work. So I've already matched the color temperature of the ambient, the chandelier, the incandescence, and the candlelight with the flash with that CTO. I've gotten my safe shots and I've moved outside of this room into the next room, which is being illuminated from camera left with sort of like a blue hour type of light that has now been shifted to this nice blue color because we've used the CTO and shifted our white balance in camera. So moment with the groom and his grandmother, and we really just wanted to focus this photo on what it's about, this moment. So I wanted to kill all of the ambient light in the background. And the grid is great for this because it cuts that light, focuses it right down onto what you want it to hit, and it keeps it from hitting all these tables and chairs and the wall in the background that we didn't want to be a part of this frame. Right? So it's kind of like that Caravaggio painting I showed you a little bit ago. Subjects dramatically illuminated by a beam of light coming in from off camera and a clean black background. Look at who I'm like,
that's not for you.
With Sean
that's not for you.
I know. Glad all 2,000 people showed up to see his talk. That's cool. Okay, so by contrast, this one I let the ambient light bleed into the frame because there's uplighting, there's clouds in the background. We moved the light source a little bit closer to camera just because the couple's facing opposite directions, so we wanted to get light on both faces. And with the grid and the sphere combo, what that's doing essentially is narrowing the beam of light onto the subject, focusing it where we want it, and the sphere is smoothing the edges, and it's almost like creating an in-camera vignette a little bit, sort of like tunnel vision, which guides the eye right into the middle to the subject. And the CTO, again, is allowing us to accentuate the cool uplighting, the cool tones and uplighting, and that sky in the background, which was like a muddy gray color to the naked eye. Right?
MagGel on that?
Yes, yeah. And then shifting that white balance down. Yeah, then everything that's accentuate the blues, yeah. I call this one Exorcism of a Groomsman. I need an old priest and a young priest. Okay, one light, 3 o'clock, camera right, with the grid, sphere, CTO, and coming up and down from above. Right?
You just keep the clicker, I think.
What's that?
I would say you keep the clicker, yeah. So, as you notice, when I use the light, I try to get it up as high as possible, which is why I definitely need light stands because I'm short, it's hard to do. But this is the reason why. So not only were we trying to get the light as off-axis horizontally as possible to that 3 o'clock and that 9 o'clock, we also want it coming from as high up as possible. When we're on the dance floor, oftentimes people are facing opposite directions. And by getting that light coming in from high up and shooting down into the action, we avoid people's heads casting shadows on what's going on. So if we had been shooting this photo with the light at like camera level or even just a little bit above, we risk having this groomsman's head casting a shadow onto the groom, which is where the action is going on. So it's simple to avoid. Just get that light up as high as possible and shoot down. And then the bonus effect is you get that really dramatic look, kind of an ethereal thing, sort of like those Caravaggio paintings that Jesse was talking about earlier.
This was a reenactment of The Lion King. The DJ played the song and everything. This was a really cool moment. And Moira's lighting this one from about 8 o'clock. Again, with the grid to narrow, the sphere to smooth, and the CTO to match the ambient light color temperature. About 9 o'clock. The only difference here is we took the grid off because we have more people scattered about that we want to light more evenly. I just saw Marlise yawning back there, and that's not what you want to see when you're Oh man. Okay, we'll try to pep it up a little. So basically, in this situation, I'll see a bunch of people dancing, and I'll just go to Moira. Am I not loud enough? We good here? And I'll go like this, and she'll know that I want to cast a wider net. So she pops that grid off, and then if we want to go back down to lighting just a couple of people, she'll just throw the grid back on there, and it's real quick to do. Okay, another example of letting the ambient light bleed into the frame and using the CTO gel to really over-accentuate those cool tones in the ambient light. It's a good time to mention how to put the gels into the thing. So they come in, like I said, quarter, half, and full cuts, but you're not relegated to just those three. You can combine them in any way, shape, or form that you want because you can fit, three, I think, into there, right, into the gel holder. And then you can also stick them directly into the sphere. So you can stack them any way you want to achieve the desired effect that you're going for.
Also put it in here.
Very similar to the last one, just with the twist, a little bit longer exposure in every frame that I took. You basically just twist the camera like that because they're waving around all these glow sticks with different colors and things. And rear curtain sync flash is popping off at the end of the exposure from 9 o'clock, camera left, 90-degree angle.
How long is the shutter speed typically?
How long is the shutter speed? It's typically around like a third of a second to a half a second, somewhere in there, yeah. But experiment, bracket it, go up and down, see what it does. I usually just look at the back of the camera and see, does it need more streaks or not as much streak? Okay, limbo lit from camera left, 9 o'clock, and from way up and above because she was surrounded by a group of people, right? So if we have the light down, it's going to hit them and cast shadows all over her doing the limbo here. So quick note about the mag shoe and the mag. There's two different ways we use 8200s, this light right here. And you can clip them directly into the mag ring, and you can use two. So if you have to combat midday sun, you can use double the power to do that. Or if you have a second shooter and they have their own lights, you can stick both of your lights in the same ring so you don't have to set up twice the light stands during your reception, right? Or you can clip it with the little gold screw that nobody knows what it is. And I need more of those, by the way, if you guys are listening.
They cranked it on.
Directly. It's somebody cranked it on there, but you can put that directly into the mag shoe if you only want to play with one light. And it's really sturdy. So if you're holding it up over a drunk bridesmaid as she's doing limbo, you don't have to worry about it falling off and knocking her out. I call this one 3 people, 5 tequila shots. Same 3 mods, grid, sphere, CTO from 9 o'clock. I already have a whole little series here from this one wedding because it was the craziest dance party we've ever seen. We've never seen anything like it since.
No.
There was a live band, the bride and groom were stage diving and crowd surfing. People were pouring beer into everyone's mouth, including ours, as we're shooting.
He lost a shoe.
I lost a shoe at one point. We were soaking wet from head to toe at the end of the night. It was incredible. I wish every wedding reception was like this.
Oh.
Okay, so everyone in this series is lit with the same 3 mods we've been talking about, grid, sphere, CTO, from either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, 90-degree angle. This one, there's a stage light coming in from about 2 o'clock up there, it looks like, but it's only 1 flash from 9 o'clock over here. Sweat filtered Coors Light. Tastes just like the Rockies, a little salty. 9 o'clock and above, so she more basically holds it out like a boom mic in this situation. If anybody has a caption for this one, I'd love to hear it after the presentation. And a grandmother humping a wedding guest. This is the only time I've ever seen this. Lit from 9 o'clock. Is it? Oh yeah, sorry. I jumped ahead.
He didn't want to give me the mic. This is a great time to talk about communication because this party was so crazy that our communication on where to put the light is really important. And a lot of people ask, how do you know what to light, where to go? And the short answer is we've been doing this for 13 years, so we're just kind of on the same wavelength at this point. But that doesn't help you guys. So practically, first we start off by both constantly scanning the dance floor. We both want to know what's going on, see the action before it happens. And then once I see him kind of moving into action, getting ready to take a shot, then I do my best, regardless of where I am on the dance floor, to get to either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And then we'll do micro adjustments after that. If he needs me a little bit closer to the camera, he'll wave me in. If he needs me further out, he needs me on the other side. This one was really tough because the dance floor is packed and I am short and I cannot see over people's heads. I'm lucky that he's got that spiky hair. So I look for the spiky hair first. And then I look to find what the AF assist beam from his camera is hitting. And that way I know where 6 o'clock is, that's where he is. And I know what he's facing on, he's shooting in the middle of the clock. And then again, I do my best just to shuffle over to 3 or shuffle over to 9. Okay.
All right, so one portrait in here, because this was taken during a crowded wedding reception. We always want to do some like really cool and unique, epic couples portrait at the very end of the night. And we usually like go out and shoot the Milky Way of the night sky because we're from Colorado. But this was a wedding in a suburb of Washington, D.C., and this is what we had to work with. So I did like the repetition of these archways with the fairy lights, but I had all this extraneous stuff in the foreground, tables, people hanging out, Coke cans, water bottles, chairs stacked up. So the first step was to drastically underexpose the entire frame so as to just retain the detail in the absolute brightest highlights, the candles and the light, the fairy lights. And then I also, just to clean up that foreground, put my phone directly up to the bottom of the lens like that, so as to reflect the top of the frame back onto the bottom of the frame to create vertical symmetry.
Can you show us what we did?
What's that?
Show us that with your phone. I don't know.
Do you have your phone?
Yeah, so just put it just right up the camera lens like this, and then tilt it around until you see the reflection exactly where you want. MagMods on there were a grid to just focus that beam of light onto them so that it's not spilling everywhere, so we can retain this nice black frame and a full CTO to match that really warm ambient color temperature.
Now just one light right behind us.
One light right behind them, yeah. All these so far have been just one light, which is a nice transition into the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't plan her.
I'll just take my money afterwards. It's fine.
We'll buy you a drink. Okay, so like Jesse said, 90% of the time we are shooting with one light at the reception for those 3 reasons. But what about the other 10%? We will break out multiple lights when I'm tired. I usually start shooting about 3 hours before Jesse does on the wedding day. So sometimes I hit the reception. I just need to take a quick break, maybe eat a little bit of cake, and recharge. So in that case, Jesse will set up lighting on the dance floor because without having that precision with the one stick light, he needs to cast a wider net to be able to capture more action going on in more places. We'll also do it if we are photographing 2 or more things. Toasts are the perfect example. How many of you have the toast maker get up and stand across the room? And you can line them up, but you can't light them with one light. So we will put one light on the person giving the toast and one light on the couple to get their reaction in the same frame. And then if we've been shooting the dance floor with one light, we have a lot of really great action shots, a lot of great dancing shots, and we feel like we've kind of covered all of those. Then we like to exercise our creative muscle a little bit. Break out more than one light, do something interesting, maybe try an idea that we've had kind of bouncing around in our heads.
All right, so this is 2 lights, 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. We still want to get them as off-axis with the camera as humanly possible to create that drama and the gradation from light to dark. But you don't have to worry as much about reducing shadows on people's faces and lighting from above here because you have light coming in from multiple angles. Grids to narrow, CTOs to match the ambient color temperature in the incandescence.
I think the battery's dying.
1 light from 9 o'clock on the maid of honor, 1 light from 3 o'clock on the bride and groom, both with grids, spheres, and CTOs. Okay, this is one light at 12 o'clock, directly behind the guitarist, with a creative blue gel to sort of replicate stage lighting, make it look a little bit more theatrical. And then one light from 3 o'clock with a grid, a sphere, and a CTO. We're seeing a pattern here. From 3 o'clock, camera right. Grids at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And for this one, again, it was kind of a boring venue with just a basic background. It didn't add anything to the frame, so I completely killed all of the ambient light in camera. But the other thing you can do in this situation, and we don't do this too frequently, but I'm going to start doing it more this season, I think, is creating my own uplighting with the MagMod creative gels and artistic gels. So essentially, you just set up lights at the bottom of walls, like right here, pointing directly up with whatever color you want to use, or you can match the motif of the wedding colors that they've chosen, and just point it straight up at the ceiling. So instead of, you can either kill it like this if it's a boring background, or create your own uplighting if you want to. And last one, a squirt gun send off, one light at 12 o'clock directly behind the couple as they're walking towards us, with a creative blue gel to backlight the water, and one light from 3 o'clock with grid, sphere, CTO.
Yeah. Okay. So we do have an announcement, also known as a shameless self plug. But we teach workshops. If you like what you heard here today, it's just a little bit of what we cover at our workshops. We go into a lot more depth. Our next one in April in Denver is sold out, so we decided to add another spring date. And we are announcing it here first, so you guys get a head start on everybody else. We'll post it on social media tomorrow. But if you are free, May 12th through the 14th, we would love to have you come join us in Breckenridge. We got a nice little cabin reserved. We'll go hang out and learn a lot. But go to jlaplante.com/workshops to get more information, and you can sign up. And we hope to see you in May.
Dave's going to be there.
Oh, Dave, that guy right there. Dave is going to be there. He's awesome. He's a great business guru, and he has a masterclass tomorrow morning. Yes.
All right, well, I just want to say one more thing. I've been walking around WPPI these last couple of days. I've been blown away by like the amount of talent and the acumen of all the speakers. And I was just thinking, like, there's no way that one person can absorb all of this information, right? It's like cognitive overload. So what I think the goal is to just take like little bits and pieces from each talk you hear throughout these 3 days, and put them in your mixing pot and stir them around, and kind of make them your own, right? And over time, doing this just by using the little bits and pieces of things that kind of resonate with you as a human being and as a business person and as an artist, over time doing that, you begin to cultivate your own unique style, right? Your own unique voice. And the world needs your voice, right? So speak up. Right? Thank you guys. Appreciate you.